I know you have probably heard from various different sources that you should be taking magnesium, but sometimes it might get confusing on which type of magnesium, which form you should be taking. So I want to kind of unpack that a little bit in this video and hopefully give you some clarity on the different kinds of magnesium and why you might want to use one over the other. So if that interests you, stick around. Let's get right to it. So we know magnesium, or you probably know, especially if you're watching this video, that magnesium is really important. It's used for so many different kinds of processes. It's kind of like a spark plugs to your cells, if you will. It's needed for a ton of different processes in the body. Some of the more influential ones to me would be mitochondrial function. It's actually needed to kickstart that ATP production within the cells. And so that's really important when you think about your overall health and well-being. Also, liver function is a big one as well, because oftentimes our livers are really overburdened, and if they don't have what they need to really perform, then that's just going to be one more reason why they don't function like we need them to. And our liver is very, very important. So those are two of the most important to me. And also, if magnesium is used in the right form, it can actually protect us against toxins that we come in contact with, against EMFs, a lot of different things that you might not think, you could have this extra layer of protection from a magnesium, but you can. So we are going to talk a little bit about that. But first, there are so many different types of magnesium and different ways that you can get them, different forms. So there are definitely supplements that you could take. There are powders that you can mix with water. There are, flakes that you can soak in. There are creams, lotions, sprays, and there's also liquid forms of magnesium, of course. And so which one is best, And two, the different types, like there's chloride, there's malleate, there's oxide, there's sulfate, there's citrate, there's glycinate, there's threonate, and there's bicarbonate. So it kind of makes your mind just go, whoa, right? Like, which one should I use? And I do think it's important, obviously I'm a big proponent of working with someone in your health journey. And so they're going to be able to look at and see where you're at with your blood work, maybe with other different functional tests, maybe with a hair test, to see like, what do you actually need? What are your other mineral status? What does that look like? Because here's the thing that I just want to mention. Some of these forms that are, I'm speaking about more of the internal forms. If you are not, if your mineral status is not where it needs to be in other areas, and then you go taking all this magnesium, sometimes it can really stress out your adrenals, and we don't want that, right? We want to take stress off the adrenals because they just get overburdened really quickly. And so that's something that you also want to think about when you're thinking about taking something internally. So I would say probably the easiest and the one that really everybody could benefit, the form everybody could benefit from for sure, would be to add in something like magnesium flakes to your bath, or lotions or sprays or things like that. That's definitely a great way to support your magnesium levels. Other magnesium types that I do like are malleate. I think malleate can give you energy if somebody is lacking in energy, and it's appropriate for them to start on, or maybe after they've worked on getting some of their other minerals balanced, then we could add that in. That is a nice one. It can be good. Also, glycinate, magnesium glycinate, can be calming. So if somebody really needs that, and again, it's right for them, that could be a good thing to add in. But I specifically want to talk about one in particular today that I feel that everybody really could benefit from, and that's called magnesium bicarbonate. And magnesium bicarbonate is truly the form that we used to get magnesium in through our water sources, through our foods that used to be in the soil. It's really the way that kind of, back in the day before our world kind of got a little messed up from, different chemicals and farming practices and just stuff, right? We just live in a modern day world. And so those things are really not present anymore, right? Our water is contaminated, our soil is stripped of these nutrients. And so we don't really get that magnesium bicarbonate in this great absorbable form from our water anymore, especially our water. Water is really the best place, and it's really the best vehicle, I should say, to get this magnesium, so that it's carried into your cells and absorbs where we want it to go and work in a great way. Because the topical magnesium is a great gentle way to increase your magnesium stores, but a lot of the other supplements that you would take internally, a lot of it does not get absorbed very well. And so really, when you look back how we used to get magnesium that I just mentioned, it was really through our water sources. And so that's something that just to keep in mind when you think like, what form is best? I always like to think about how did God design this in the beginning, right? Before things got kind of messed up. And that's really how we used to get most of the magnesium that we consumed, was through our water. So that just makes sense about why we kind of want to get back. I'm always looking about how we can get back to God's original design as much as possible. And so this to me is kind of a no-brainer. I really love the magnesium bicarbonate form. So let's talk about it for just a minute, because I feel like you maybe have heard about magnesium bicarbonate, but maybe not. Again, that really is the form that we used to get magnesium in. And so it is through a water source. And that is something that you want to think about, again, getting it absorbed into your cells. What is the best form to do that? And it really is through water. So a little bit about magnesium bicarbonate, and also how do you go about getting this, because it's not in a pill form. It's actually a liquid that you would drink, and you can buy pre-made magnesium bicarbonate that's already ready to go, but it's kind of costly. And you also, when you think about something like magnesium that is used up so much and that we need to replace, we don't produce magnesium, we can't get a ton from our food, and we're not getting it from our water. So it's something that we're going to have to continually be thinking about, how can we get this magnesium back in, because it is used for so many different things in our body. You want to think about sustainability and also absorbability that we already talked about. So paying let's say this bottle of pre-made magnesium bicarbonate is like $60 to $80 depending on where you get it, and you're wanting to use this continually. It's just not sustainable for a lot of people. And coupled with the fact that it's so easy to make, I find and really advocate for you to make your own. So how do you make your own? And is it difficult? I've made it several different times and have been using it for several months, and I'm happy to report that it's really easy to make. So I like to get magnesium bicarbonate from Crucial 4. Also, Pristine Hydro makes a magnesium bicarbonate that's excellent too. Either one of those would be really good. But this is a powder, and to make magnesium bicarbonate at home, you would need a powder, and you would also need some high quality carbonated water. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can get this water to make your magnesium bicarbonate with. If you have something like a reverse osmosis water that you bring into your home, if you have distilled water, I have a Pristine Hydro filter, so I use that water, which to me is the best to start out with to make this magnesium bicarb, because it's the closest to the way water used to be. So that's just something to think about. You definitely don't want to use tap water. You want to make sure your water is in a great form before you put it with this magnesium bicarbonate, especially when you think about having different contaminants in it, but also really high calcium is an issue with a lot of water sources, and that is going to impair how well this can work. And it's just something that you want to think about long-term about your water source as well. So I just wanted to mention that. So you want to start out with a good water source. So what I typically do is I use this pristine water that I have filtered my water through. So I'll take that, and you want to have it chilled. And the thing is, to make it at home, you need something that is going to carbonate the water. So if you have your own like SodaStream, or there's so many different versions of that now, you can totally do this whole process from scratch. If you don't have a carbonation machine, then you can just buy carbonated water. Like you could use Perrier, you could use like a plain LaCroix. You can use those different types of water. So that would be really easy for you to purchase and make this with, but it's even better if you can make it yourself. So I just wanted to kind of share the two different ways of getting your water. But once you have your carbonated water, and I want you to, side note, I want you to look in the description of this video because I'm going to share a little demo that I'm going to do that's a shorter video. So if you want to see me actually make this, then you'll want to check out that video in the description. But you want to take your carbonated cold water and you want to put 1 to 2 teaspoons of this magnesium bicarbonate in. And whenever you put that in, you're going to see that this reaction starts to happen because you're actually going to take magnesium hydroxide, which is the powder, you're going to put it with that carbonated water and it's going to make magnesium bicarbonate as the end product. So that's kind of a reaction that happens there. And so you're going to put that in, you're going to shake it up a little bit, and you're going to want to leave it on the counter for the next 20 minutes and just continually shake it up every few minutes because you want to get that powder throughout the water so that it will all take part in this reaction. And then in the end result is that you're going to have a clear liquid. And that's when you know it has no carbonation and it's clear, that's when you can consume it. So the process is really, really easy. And with this liquid, it's best if you start with 1 to 2 ounces and just kind of work your way up from there. It's really also best if you consume it throughout the day. So I'll just share what I do with this and how I kind of incorporate it into my day-to-day routine. So I love to intake adrenal cocktails. So that's something that I've done a blog post on before and a different YouTube video also. So I'm going to post that below in the description so you can check out adrenal cocktails if you're not familiar with those. But I love putting magnesium bicarbonate in my adrenal cocktail because it just makes sense. I'm already consuming it. I can throw this in there. I can get my magnesium. And also with an adrenal cocktail, I'm already consuming those between meals because that's really important when you think about magnesium bicarbonate. It will affect how you digest your food if you take it too close to a meal. So you want to use this on an empty-ish stomach. So before a meal, 45 minutes before a meal or in between meals, those are really great times to consume magnesium bicarbonate. And so for me, it's really easy to just add this into my adrenal cocktail that I usually take twice a day. And so I'm getting, great magnesium in there and it's just a win-win. So I hope this has been helpful in how to kind of decide which form of magnesium you should take, and different things to consider, factors to consider when you think about longevity, because this is something that we will need to replace over time. It's not necessarily something that you only want to use acutely. Magnesium is something that we're always going to use and that most people are depleted depending on their magnesium burn rate, which really means it's dependent on how stressed they are because the more stressed you are, the more you're going to burn through magnesium. So that's just something to consider. And I hope this has been helpful in just kind of deciding which form might be right for you. And remember to check out the description of this video because I'm going to have all the links. I'll have the link to purchase this. I'll have the link for how to make it. And I'm also going to do a blog post with more information that I'll post in the description below. But I love doing these videos every Wednesday. So if you enjoyed this, check out the other videos that I've done in past weeks and subscribe so that you can be notified whenever I do videos in the future. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video.